Hi. I want to talk about the business in a new way. We heard a lot about business today from this scene, from this audience, and I take it that most of the people who just got here in this scene today are somehow related to business, or at least want to be leaders, do something extraordinary, change the world, because that's pretty much what the forum is about. It's not really about how you do that, the techniques or the 5 rules of how you change your world. It's about just getting the inspiration and getting things started. And the one topic, small for this forum, maybe big for in terms of that it might change some of your lives, I just wanted to discuss a little bit how technology, how globalization, internet, changed really the rules, the fundamental rules of a business in 21st century. So the points I will try to make in this presentation is that today, business is easier than ever. Šiandien verslas yra naujai lengviausias, kaip niekada anksčiau. Today, business is faster than ever. Verslas šiandien yra daug greitesnis negu bet kada anksčiau. What's most important, today business is biggest as it's ever been. Ir šiandien verslas yra didžiausias, koks tik tai iki šiol buvo anksčiau. So to start with, I would just share with you an extraordinary fact. Those of you who really know anything about finances, last year, 2012, at May 18th, might have observed Facebook hitting stock exchange, NASDAQ, and doing IPO, first time ever in the history of the world, hitting $100 billion mark. And that's a company founded only 2004. So what I'm trying to say is that today technology makes it possible, just in 8 years, build a value which is unbelievably large, and just like the dorm in the university. And Facebook done that, and Google, another very famous company, started in 1998, hit pretty recently $300 billion market capitalization. It's unbelievable. When I was preparing this presentation, I really lost myself in those zeros. I tried to, first I wrote myself 300 million. It appeared large to me, and I said, hey, actually billion spells with 9 zeros. So unbelievable number of companies grow fast and go really big. So faster than ever, bigger than ever, easier than ever. What's really important and what gives us, a small country, a massive opportunity is that markets change fast, really fast. I happen to be in the mobile applications industry, so I know a little bit about that. And the number which simply strikes me is that in just a few years, apps didn't exist at all, and economists are predicted that the market for mobile applications will hit $50 billion annually next year, 2014. Might sound a little bit abstract, but I will tell you, just for perspective, that the whole music industry, like rock stars, including Scorpions, of course, and label companies and Virgin Records, of course, included, altogether, the whole of music industry makes just $25 billion every year. So it's a phenomenon where a completely new opportunity grows, and in just a few years doubles the whole of the music industry, which been on the planet for hundreds of years. So changes come really unbelievably fast, And this is the opportunity, because we'll really think of that. If you really compare and try to calculate how big the number is, you come with a number of 500,000 professionals, highly paid, well-paid, who can be supported in this whole industry. Just to give you a perspective, the whole of Google is 30,000 people. So we're speaking about a phenomena, about the market power, which comes out of nowhere and is capable of building 10 companies like Google's just overnight. Well, apparently Rovio and Angry Birds is one of those companies, scratching a lot from this opportunity. So what I'm trying to say is that opportunities are so fast that enormous wealth, enormous value can be created just overnight if you're smart enough, if you're fast enough. And just to share you, again, some other striking number, I was talking to another Finnish company, by the way, recently, and they disclosed that one of their games is making $2 million every single day. So imagine that. More than $500 million, just one game, just on the iOS. That's iPhone and iPod. So speaking of numbers, well, apparently everybody heard a lot about the American dream. And yesterday, thanks to my good friend Peter Westerbacka, we learned about the Finnish dream. What it takes to come from a small country like Finland and dominate the world. So let me tell you about the Lithuanian dream. The numbers that we, a small team from Lithuania, were able to achieve. So 6 years ago, well, apparently I had this Lithuanian dream of coming out of a small country and building something global, something that everybody in the world would use. So as you know, 6 years ago, we started a small project by then called GetJar. And right now, we have celebrated 3 billion downloads. So it's a massive number, really, when you calculate that. Every single second, 50 applications are downloaded from our sites. So by the time I finish this presentation, we will have done 150,000 more downloads. And these are enormous numbers, really, even globally. You know, sometimes, I'm frequent to airports. So sometimes I stop by the airport bookstore. And sometimes they have those shelves where they place bestsellers. And I smile kind of these bestsellers now, because you take the book and you reverse it, and it says, you know, like the big poster says, like, over 1 million copies sold. I scratch my head, because as Peter said yesterday, in mobile world, nothing starts less than 10 million downloads. So like 1 million is just so nothing. And we were very happy and very lucky to get Angry Birds exclusive launch on Android a few years ago. So first day, 1 million downloads of that popular game. So when I'm talking about the new business, when I said new business now is bigger than ever, is really we're talking about businesses across the board. We're talking about users in all countries. We're talking about the opportunity coming from a small country, building something truly global where everybody in the world uses. This is a massive opportunity. And again, as Peter said yesterday, it's all here. You just need to start, and that's it. Just go get and do it. I also share one interesting anecdote. I was lucky to visit Davos a couple years ago, and we had a panel discussion. And next to me was sitting head of China Mobile. As you might know, China Mobile is the largest carrier in the world. And the editor, the moderator, was the editor of Time magazine. And the discussion was about mobile users and how mobile really makes into your life. And this head of China Telecom, at one moment, makes a remark like, hey, we're like one of the largest companies on the planet, and we have 600 million users. And apparently, that's a large number, but the editor scratches his head and says, well, that's almost as many as Facebook has, right? So I realized, yes, a kid out of nowhere makes a company which has more users than a China Mobile Telecom does. So opportunities are huge, are massive. Business goes virtual and global. Well, this is something which I think, as a country which tries to build a business and a mobile new knowledge economy, it just has to take into account. Business goes global and business goes digital. When you really start reading all those reports, economical reports, behind those simple statistical lines, you see massive trends. I was very shocked to learn that already, if you take the top G20 countries in the world, as much as 10% of GDP is really already in digital form and shape. So we're talking about virtual economy, which never existed before, and now 10% of all value, wealth, money, revenue, sales, products, content, is made in the digital shape and form. And it's growing really fast. So when you really think of that, like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, we never really consumed so much digital content. We never really used that much digital toys around us. We used to write emails, letters by hand, and now it's email. We used to phone friends. Right now it's Facebook, streams to everybody. So digital is a massive opportunity. And again, it grows really fast. And the small country like Lithuania has enormous advantage because it's fast. Small countries can move really fast. At this moment, typically in some other conferences, I make a couple of very patriotic comment saying, hey, guess what? Lithuania has the most advanced internet banking system in the world. I know it's hard to believe, but those who have tried to use banks in the US will find it that many of them are not nearly as advanced as ours are. Like few people actually use internet banking. Still, just like in Lithuania, they receive their salary in envelopes. And obviously, it's a very sensitive issue for Lithuania. So yes, in America, they also pay the salary in envelopes, but for a different reason, because there are paper checks there. So that's as far as they can get. Majority of people receive salary just in the form of paychecks. And I was attending a conference in Miami 3 weeks ago, and I also took a picture, won't share here, just because there is a bank brand. But the bank was promoting a very advanced application, basically which allows you to take a photo of your check and deposit your salary just by photographing your check, and it goes in 3 days, which the bank says is very fast, back to your account. So banks are really behind. And again, being a small country allows us to take advantage of these technologies like much faster. Like how many of you actually use internet banking? Now I have to scratch my head like those who did not raise their hands, like how do you do then all the transactions? But anyway, this is the area where really we are top of the world in terms of knowledge, in terms of service, in terms of user adoption, in terms of business-related experience. Internet in Lithuania is fastest in the world. When I go to my colleagues and say, hey, I just got my fiber optics right in my house, which delivers me 300 megabytes per second, that's a puzzle for a lot of IT specialists around the world. Well, what I don't tell is that we need fast internet because we like torrents, but that's a totally different story. We still have the fastest internet in the world, so we have really awesome infrastructure. And I think we're really well positioned to take advantage of those opportunities because they, as I just said, are really digital, global, and allow coming out of nowhere, building really a global business. Again, coming back to Facebook and just looking at what kind of scale can now achieve, say, a business. It's approaching really 1 billion people around the globe. Like when you think of the history of businesses, never ever in the history of humankind it was possible to build a business of such a scale. Because when you really think of it, it's like 1 billion people. It's more than 10% of the whole Earth's population. And just in 5 years, they are using this service. So if you build something, you have an awesome opportunity to build it massively big. And by here, again, another news, which I learned actually 2 weeks ago from our guys, is, as some of you might know, last year we launched our new virtual currency called Gauge Gold. So before New Year, we celebrated 100 million users to that currency. So as of 3 weeks ago, we have hit 200 million users with virtual currency. That is really a massive number. So those kind of scales are achievable. That's enormous. When you think of it, it's 70 times the all people in Lithuania. And you can reach across them globally. We work today with 650,000 developers. And this is the scale which was never, ever possible before. Like I just calculated, just for fun of that if we really had to sign a paper contract with each of the developers, the pile of those contracts would be 550 meters high, which is a pretty big skyscraper. Well, not as big as the Burj Dubai, which is the largest skyscraper, 800 meters, but definitely a very large pile of papers. So by making things digital, by really streaming everything, by optimizing everything, and by working online, self-service, cloud systems, it's possible to run enormous business, literally out of your bedroom. You can reach enormous number of people. And now we're talking about the new generation. I explained bifold why Lithuania actually is extremely well placed to take advantage of these technologies. I say, hey, there's a chapter in the digital history of this country which we may not necessarily be proud of, but nevertheless, it really shapes us who we are and what and how we do. And this chapter is about computer piracy. Yes, in that country, we had a lot of computer piracy in the last 20 years. So I sometimes make jokes about how you take average Lithuanian student and just check his computer. Very often you will find a $1 million worth of software in that computer. So this is something, again, not necessarily to be proud of. So I will say we have a moral debt which we have to return to the rest of the humankind. But nevertheless, it makes the nation, the generation, extremely technically savvy. I'll just ask a few questions. How many of you had ever installed a Windows copy yourself? That's about half. I guarantee if we had the exactly same forum in the US, barely would see anybody at all, because you just unpack the computer and it works. How many of you actually use Photoshop? It's like a third. Given Photoshop actually costs the full license $1,000, how many of you actually paid that price? I'm really happy for you and for you. Yes, so I just wanted to illustrate that we are, in a way, we're a hacker generation. Those guys who know how to use systems, who knows how to configure mobile phone access points and DNS servers and whatever else needed to be configured in the phone 10 years ago just to make it work on the internet. We've been raised with that technology. We played all the games. We worked with Photoshops and 3D Studios and AutoCADs and all the other advanced software. So what it makes us is, A, on the one hand, being capable of coming with brilliant new ideas. And B, what I think is even more important, it makes us be able to use the technology. One of the reasons, again, you would say there is little relation direct, but I would say there is. In a way, the reason why so many users actually use internet banking is because they did install Windows themselves. They are not afraid of those error messages and like whatever else configuration screens. They've gone through that. They know what cancel and yes actually means. And this really prepares the population to accept, adopt the new technologies much faster than some, say, American kids could and would, who never seen a computer in their life, who typically on the weekends do not spend on the computers. They go Disneyland, they play baseball, play basketball. It's fine, but they only see Photoshop in the university lab 3 times a week. So by the time they really learn something at all, the Lithuanian kids already know everything. So it makes us, again, being able to come with new ideas, know the technology enough to know how to implement those ideas. But what's more important, we can start using those ideas right on. This is really important. So again, I will share you a little joke, not a joke, but just a funny YouTube clip that I saw on one telecom conference. It was removed later on, but so I didn't find it for this time, but I will just explain. So it shows, basically it shows a like 2-year-old kid, and he's on sofa. And this kid holds a printed copy of a magazine, some kind of fashion magazine. And if the operator shows me, so this is like a printed magazine. And he tries to turn the page by tapping the screen or the magazine. And he's so puzzled, the page wouldn't turn. Because this generation does not know that you can just pull and hold a page. No. This is not how the pages change in this new world for this new digital Z generation or whatever it's called. This is how they change the pages. So the metaphor I use here is saying, hey, you can try to learn French in university as much as you can for semester, 3 years, like whatsoever, good luck. You're always going to speak with accent and never going to have perfect knowledge. But take French kids, by the age of 4, they are fluent in French, because we've grown in that language. So the same happens with technology. Basically, those kids who no longer know how to use actual, like, real magazines have a very, very different mindset from now. So basically, we're saying that those kids will have a very different world, and most likely, they will invent new businesses, not us, not the older generation who still thinks in terms of, like, physical pages. So the other comment I would make is about business models. Just selling thing is so last age. And to illustrate that, I would tell you that when mobile applications started, the dominant business model was very simple. You pay a couple dollars and you get a mobile application. That's it. And looking at the internet, by the way, a side comment, I would say that if you tell me 5 or whatever top, most successful, most profitable businesses, you may be surprised to realize all of them are actually free. Like Google, like yes, it's free search. Like they don't charge you to come and look for something. Facebook, it's free. So it doesn't mean they're not commercial. It means that the business model gets way more sophisticated than just buy and sell. And here, again, I will turn into mobile world, again, because it's just a little bit easier for me because this is something I face every day. Just to tell you the difference, we work with a lot of developers. And we can compare different business models, apparently see how much each different business model earns. And if a game is selling for $2, $3, we measure, by the way, the efficiency or the revenue potential of a game by RPM, revenue per 1,000 users. So a typical casual game that costs like $2, $3 will generate in the range of 8 to 10 to 12 RPM. That means 1,000 users on average would spend so much on that game. That means X will purchase the game and pay a couple of dollars, and this is what you make on average on 1,000 users. Now, if you look at more advanced games that actually have freemium model, they have in-application items where you can buy the special items, magic swords, etc., can generate up to $800 RPM. 10, $800, almost 100 times higher, because they're inventive. Again, please, Peter, forgive me if I talk a little bit about the Supercell, your Finnish neighbor, but this is one of the company which is extremely advanced, and one of the reasons why they've been so successful is because they figured out how on a free game make a lot of money. So currently, as I mentioned, this company earns around $2 million a day, of which 1.5 million approximately spent on advertising. But they have figured out how to get a user and get a player to do anything. I was visiting Russia 2 weeks ago and was talking to one game developer in Russia. And just for competitive reasons, he was playing Supercell. So 2 comments he made. He said, like, one is, I had to spend half of my vacation to play Clash of Clans or Supercell on my iPhone. So my girlfriend is mad at me, and I damaged my eyes by 2 dioptria. So now it is personal. Now I have to make something better than this. But second comment really struck me. He said, you know what? Guess what? I'm so pissed off because unless you spend $3,000 in that game, you get nowhere at all, period. So what I'm trying to say is new business models are very advanced. If you look at Google, again, the way they make money is so new, so powerful. They estimate the value of every click. And again, as some of you might know, a Google business model, I'll call it like most powerful business model on the planet, period. But it's so powerful. There's so much science behind. And those new business models, again, not as simple as just buy and sell, is really what starts to dominate the world. So again, there is a huge opportunity. There is a way to do that, but you have to be pretty inventive because right now, no longer it's the muscles or the strength or anything like that. It's the brains. That's what it takes now to win the game. Now, another, I would say, enormous invention that happened in America 30 years ago is what is called the Silicon Valley startup way of building new businesses. This is the picture from the web. I'm sure you recognize the guys. So 2 kids in university with a brilliant idea. But what I'm trying to illustrate now is this is where the innovation comes from. No longer huge corporations like Intel or HP are really growing in business with new ideas. It really comes out of just kids. Because just as what I said earlier, we are digital natives. We understand how the world works. We understand what new is there to build. So Silicon Valley startup model really allows them, without having any money at all, just an idea, just a presentation, just a vision, to really build their business and get the resources, millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you again, if I ask you to name, I don't know, 5, 10, whatever, like top new companies that have just rise there in the last few years. Again, you will, of course, answer me Facebook, Instagram, and Skype, and like Zynga, like Groupon, and all of them have something in common. Like most of those businesses use the standard Silicon Valley startup model. So that means there is very resources to help young entrepreneurs. Money no strings, money no debt. And this is, by the way, something I really do take time to explain. I talk a lot of speeches and public courses in universities. And this is I'm trying to explain, saying, hey, you know what, there is this thing called venture capital, angel investments. And guess what? You can get $1 million funding for your idea without mortgaging your house. Really, you don't have to return that credit. So in case business fails, that's it. You're not responsible for that. You can finish it in a clean, nice way and just go build a new one. Because there's already enough infrastructure, enough support, enough money there to buy the risks. So we are in 21st century. No longer, really, we have to take loans from the banks and mortgage our house, and in case business fails, really lose everything we have. No longer that's necessary. All you need to do is just be capable, have a great idea, and have motivation and desire to change things. Everything else is there. As I mentioned, you can do faster, you can do easier, you can do bigger than ever. There are resources available. So in reality, again, this Silicon Valley startup model is really something that starts expanding globally. So again, Peter mentioned yesterday about some of the Finnish initiatives by startups, entrepreneurs, and I know that there is already a lot of movement here in Lithuania. Startup Sauna, Nitro Startup, and Startup Weekends, and Mobile Mondays. Maybe a couple of dozen of those movements, how to build Silicon Valley here in Lithuania, and never Silicon Valley. Because other countries have realized there is value in supporting entrepreneurship, in supporting innovation, investing into new businesses. So it's great to see coming in Lithuania, and I'm absolutely sure, you heard from every single politician in Lithuania, no exception, that Lithuania builds knowledge economy. Lithuania wants to be a global player. Lithuania supports startups, supports entrepreneurs, and does build Silicon Valleys. Just as Ireland did, just as Israel did, just as a lot of Scandinavian countries did. So this is coming to Lithuania, and this makes business, again, easier than ever. Just hang around a couple of times in those entrepreneur saunas or ideas or just places where you meet and share ideas, and then you can get a lot of knowledge how to do and what to do. When you come to Silicon Valley, some of the VCs sometimes joke, they say, hey, we're very lucky in Silicon Valley because we're probably the only place on the planet which does not try to build Silicon Valley. Because every other country does. And I actually think that we're doing pretty good there. There is a lot of hope that it goes off. Another message I would try to sell here is just as it's spoken that the business models evolve, buying and selling no longer is really the business model of the 21st century. And the one thing which I really think is important to understand for those who do run businesses in Lithuania or are planning to build business in Lithuania is that no longer revenue and profits are really the ultimate goals. I know it's counterintuitive. You talk to any random person and say, hey, explain me how to take advantage of a business. They say, well, don't you know? It's really simple. You run a business and you sell something and you get money, and some of that money you pay as costs, and some of the money hopefully stays, and that's a profit, and you take the profit out. And this is how you live. No longer that is the case. We live in 21st century, and a derivative of that model called building the value of the business is really what the companies are trying to achieve. So once you focus on building value as opposed to building cash, revenue, and profit, A, you can build value faster than ever, and B, you automatically solve a lot of problems. For example, this gray business, which is still a big concern and a big problem in Lithuania. Like, if you really build a proper business way, you don't need to pay salaries or hide from taxes because it's unprofitable. It's just a very simple math equation. I'm hoping I'm not giving you too much of a difficult of a math task. In Silicon Valley, for a growing company, very often its valuation means how investors or bankers or anybody else would pay for the company is 10 times its revenue. So very simple. You make like $1 million in revenue, your company is worth $10 million. So now in that model, if you look at Lithuania, if you're trying to hide, say, $1 million in taxes, yes, you win probably half of that by not paying taxes. 500,000 you do win, but your business loses in value 9 million. So it is profitable to run a business in a transparent, normal, Western-style, clean way. It is profitable. It's 9 times more profitable than just trying to make a quick cash and doing something shady and then something gray. So focusing on building value is something that a lot of companies, a lot of startups are now focusing on. And value is a much more broad concept than profit or revenue or capital, because value can be strategic. Skype. Microsoft paid $8.5 billion for a company, which is barely profitable. From financial standpoint, it makes 0 sense at all. Just doesn't make any sense at all. But apparently, again, as I mentioned, mobile industry is really changing the shape of the world. As you might know, Microsoft is a little bit behind on the race. And given the future, where probably carriers no longer sell you voice services, probably those services you can buy from Microsofts and Googles and Facebooks and Apples directly. In that game, just voice technology, just the know-hows, becomes strategically important. So you build something of a quality, and it has strategic value, and you get very well paid from Microsoft, a nice check, $8.5 billion. Look at Facebook. Again, another striking record that Facebook achieved during its IPO, it's the profit multiple. By the time Facebook did IPO, Facebook was generating only $1 billion profit per year. Nevertheless, the company was valued at $100 billion. So I always just ask a rhetorical question. If really Mark Zuckerberg was only to take profits out, question is, by the time he would withdraw the $100 billion, that means 100 years later, would he really need all that money? Probably not. So what I'm trying to illustrate is concentrating on the derivative of the profits and revenue and strategic values, the company value, is something that modern businesses really do. And, well, at this point, very often I'm asked questions like, okay, you build value, blah, blah, blah. So, but, where does the money come from? Like, who pays all that cash? Yes, it's fine to have like 100 billion on paper, but, where do you take the cash from? So today, there are 3 ways how you actually make cash. IPO apparently is the very popular way. If you're big enough, then you just go to NASDAQ or another stock exchange, and then your shares become liquid, and that means you can call your broker and say, hey, Peter or John, better John, can you sell like 10 shares because I need to buy a house? So the shares become liquid as cash, and this is how you extract value, not again by generating profits and running dividends and that old-fashioned way. You can do M&A. Actually, statistically, a successful business is way more likely to be sold than to do IPO. I would say 50-1 maybe ratio. Again, you build strategic value or any other value, market value, users value, brand value. And it's liquid as cash because there are always companies or funds or bankers or some other entities interested in that liquid asset. So you can make the cash that way. And again, once again, those of you who are financially, say, experienced will really understand my shock when I learned that Facebook did IPO, was able to do IPO at 100 times its profit. It's very unusual. I already touched a little bit by showing you the picture of Larry and Sergey from Google, that innovation no longer comes from corporations. Again, very simple fact. The technology changes so fast that by the time, and large companies move so slow, that by the time large company is able to do anything at all, there's already a bunch of startups who already done that. And I can also share an anecdote, one event from my life when I was talking to one of the Nokia vice presidents, and we were talking about how difficult it is to change things or do things when you are as large as Nokia. And with frustration in his voice, he said, Ilya, you know what? I understand that you want to work fast. I understand you're capable to work fast as a small company, but let me tell you a thing. A few weeks ago, I noticed a spelling mistake on our website. And guess what? It will take 8 months to change that spelling mistake on our website. just because it's a process. Because we're a large corporation, I cannot just call a guy and say, hey, we got a spelling mistake, change that. You can do it as a startup. You cannot do that at Nokia because you have to route it for a specific channel. They have to label this as a technical problem. Then it goes to another unit who analyzes, in order of priority, is it really important or not, assigns to a specific division, includes in the quarterly or annually or whatever plan, and then goes down to the executive division and so on and so on. It will take 8 months to do a spelling mistake change at companies like Nokia. So no longer really in that fast world, innovation is coming from large companies. It's the kids from universities, with Mark Zuckerberg, with Sergey Brin's, Peter Westerbackas, and guys like him, who are really driving the whole innovation. And what's also I can share with you, again, by visiting universities, visiting schools, is that a lot of students, a lot of kids are really prepared and want to do that. Just a data point that when I talk to Lithuanian students and ask that question, how many you actually want to build your own business, approximately half raise their hands. So there is really a lot of potential, including in this country. Again, another interesting observation that approximately half of people really want to do business on both sides of the ocean, whether US or Lithuania. So I take it that's probably just a human nature. Some of us just want to do something ourselves, and another part of us really want to do something where responsibility is low, everybody is told what to do, and just follow the order because that's easy life. So modern building instruments, business building instruments, is something what enables us to move fast. Again, I mentioned VCs. I already will mention a couple of other things like employee stock options. Again, another invention of Silicon Valley. That means a very simple thing. Since, again, looking at this slide I showed earlier, concentration and value, what really drives companies like Facebook and Zynga, what really squeezes most energy of these guys is a very simple fact. Every single employee has a little bit of a company. So stock options, equity, options, is something that is used in every single Silicon Valley company. There is no exception. What's more important, every single employee in the company has stock options. So everybody is in a way owner of a business. Everybody is in a way businessman himself or herself. So there are a ton of instruments, and they are really powerful. And they allow you, again, coming on over of university dorm or bedroom or a garage, build a new business, give you instruments, give you know-how, give you resources, give you knowledge to start a business out there and build it globally and dominate the world because the potential is so massive. And I couldn't hold myself from just trying to pull Lithuania into this presentation because I honestly believe the potential here is huge. Again, not just I'm saying that. By the way, some of you or some other conferences, they say, hey, blah, 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 this is only words. It's easy to tell how patriotic you are about the country, but I'm supporting that. I have become an investor. I'm investing 7-digit investments in Lithuanian startups. So I not support only that with my ideas or slides or words. I put cash into the country because I really believe what I'm saying. So I already mentioned the hacker generation. We have very educated people, they are very skilled, they are capable of coming new ideas, they are capable of using those ideas. So they are capable really to building the whole new way of products. Infrastructure, as already mentioned, the internet, connectivity, logistics is really one of the best in the world. So if you are building a startup, there is infrastructure to support that. Yes, you can run a global business from a small country like Lithuania. So Lithuanian dream in that sense is a good friend of a Finnish dream. So we're kind of part of the local, probably Scandinavian dream. And yes, and I see a lot of movement, a lot of interest in those new ideas. I see a lot of kids and students and school kids really interested in those new ideas and running a lot of events, sharing ideas. Look at Facebook activity, look at those social events. There's a lot of interest. So I really honestly believe Lithuania is one of the best countries in the world to start a new business because it's easier than ever, and grow it globally because business in a new way is faster than ever, and dominate the world globally because today's businesses are really bigger than ever. So this is pretty much my presentation. And ačiū labai.
I was going to ask you some questions from
Sure.
the app, and frankly, there are a lot. What would you predict the next big thing is after tablets?
Well, actually, I think tablets is still we haven't structured service. I predict that tablets will become as cheap as books. Well, not as cheap as my book, which is free, but still, as ever, books it will be
cheap.
cheaper. You can't beat that with a tablet. But I really honestly believe we haven't scratched the surface, and every single user will probably have 5 to 10 tablets himself, for every different opportunity. So there is massive opportunity there.
What is the future of smartphones? OS, Android, Windows?
Next few years, we predict that Android will be massively dominant, really. Although right now it's really difficult to see because of this glow around the iOS and the iPhone. I really see the numbers. I see how developers are adopting new platforms. I do predict that probably iPhones will, again, slide back into 3, 4, 5% market share. Android massively dominates the world, and Windows probably doesn't even reach 10% of the market.
I can't read it, but is that a question you can answer?
It is, but I'll leave it for private discussion.
Fair enough. That's what I thought it was. Yeah, I thought. Which brand of phone do you personally use? Got one on you?
Yes, I'm a big believer in Android, so I think Samsung, and this is what I'm using now, is Samsung Note 2. Samsung has not paid me, by the way, but I honestly believe this is the next iPhone. So I'm a big Samsung fan.
This is interesting. How does technology and app use in your early years, I think that means developmentally when you're a child, affect your personality or behavior in the future?
I would just share one moment. Well, apparently when you're a kid, when you're adult, you have some flashy memories of your childhood. So one memory I do have is, again, first my parents who are sitting right there. They were engineers. I was able to access computers very early. Back then I was like 4 or 5 years old. And computers back then were huge machines. And for the first time, I do remember how a programmer from, I think it was my mother's office, showed me how to launch a game, Run Mars. You had to type on that keyboard to launch a game. And I did press those buttons like Run, Space, Mars, and the game launches. And it's such an enormous feeling of being able to command that huge machine. It was enormous.
What year was that, and how old were you?
It must be around 82, maybe. It was really a while ago. Applications did not exist, or at least they did exist. We did not know they were apps. So I guess we just use different names for that.
Do you think that Facebook, Instagram, and the like are the start of some kind of digital bubble?
Very often, I really am asked that question, and the way I see it is no industry has this linear growth. It's impossible. So it always goes up and down. So basically what happens, just as what happened with real estate bubble here in Lithuania, there is an underlying growing trend, and there is overhype, underhype. So it's just impossible to predict exactly how the industry evolves. So what happens is, initially it's underhype because the new technology really is not understood immediately. So less companies invest, and then some companies make a big hit because the market grows. But on that hype, a lot of investment happens. So you reach a maximum scale. There's overinvestment, overexcitement, because now the excitement in the new business is much more than it really is. So it drops down. But in waves, it grows. The trend is growing, but those what some call bubbles or the heights of the waves is really just inevitable. That's just the way any new business grows. So that's that's a temporary.
Sort of a follow-up topic is generally IT stuff is amazing. What happens if everyone goes into IT?
Well, first of all, even though that might sound a little bit strange, I still, even though as popular as it is, IT is still understaffed, really. Again, just simple illustration. Look, I just talked about the new business of mobile applications hitting $50 billion revenue. As I mentioned, this is enough to support 500,000 highly paid professionals in the area. The money is actually coming from the content side. It is sucked from movies, from music. It is not sucked from food or some other change. So basically what we're saying is those professionals have to come from somewhere. And even though, yes, IT is already very popular, I still is extremely understaffed right now. I still the potential is still there.
How understaffed is Lithuania for IT, and will there be a time in the future where that will balance out?
Well,
Or
you
will you
know,
have to import talent? Will you have so much you export?
well, I think that Lithuania is so small that even if the whole of Lithuania went into IT, still there would be enough jobs for everyone.
If everyone did
Yep.
go into IT, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, all right.
You
So
see?
bubble be damned. Is there one specific answer, one specific benefit that Lithuania has as a place to start and run a business?
Again, I already mentioned that. I honestly believe the population which is technically savvy, the hacker generation, is really something which is very rarely seen elsewhere in the world. So we both can come up with new ideas. What's more important, we can adopt new ideas fast. I think that's a massive basement to build upon.
I'll ask you one last question then, if you don't mind. And
Sure.
This one's interesting. We've talked about this a lot in our break at lunch. The question is, could you tell us your biggest weakness to prove that you're still human, which I do like, but you can either answer that and or the question, what was your biggest failure and how do you pull out of it? What do you learn from it?
Well, something I really wish I could change is, although often I say that business is about trying a lot of new businesses, ideas and concepts, I call it throwing macaronis at the wall and seeing which one sticks. So I honestly believe you have to try more than one time. But also together with that, I really honestly believe at any given time you have 100% focus on something one that you do. Otherwise, if you do two things, then you're working on each like half of your time, half of your effort, and then it means if somebody's working doing full time, whole heart, whole effort, he's more likely to win. So when Gidger started and pulled off, maybe for a couple of years, we still were trying to maintain maybe like 6, 5 and ever projects. And Gidger was receiving maybe, I don't know, a quarter of attention. And now I would not do that. As soon as you notice there is opportunity there, and sometimes again, because I meant what I said, the businesses are faster than ever. Based on the statistics, I could have told that Gidger would be big in first 2 weeks. So this is when I should cut off everything else. It's difficult because it has already hundreds of thousands of users. It's like cutting off your hand. But I would have done it right now, just to focus and then just make sure you do one thing at a time.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Ilja. Thank you, Ilja.